On this episode of China Uncensored, everything you ever wanted to know about China. Part 1. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. At the beginning of the month, I asked you to send me any questions you had about China, and I was blown away by the response. I received hundreds of questions, and some of you were not too patient about waiting for the answers. Now, I did make a video answering all of your questions, but it was so big it wouldn't fit on YouTube. So how about this? I'll make this a monthly thing I do on China Uncensored. You can leave your questions in the comments section of this video, and I'll answer them at the end of next month. So let's get started. The first question comes from Daffy, who wrote, "Is the Chinese government making any efforts to deal with the growing issue of air pollution?" Thank you. Good question. Yes, they are. As a matter of fact, earlier this year, following some of the worst air pollution in recorded history, Beijing authorities banned outdoor grills, because that's what was causing all the pollution. Definitely not the millions of cars or the coal-burning industrial plants. Pompolingo wrote, "Please talk about the Taiping Rebellion and its effects on the Qing dynasty." That's a very interesting piece of history. The Taiping Rebellion was the largest uprising in human history and cost the lives of 20 million. But many, at least in the US, never have heard of it because it happened at the same time as the American Civil War, or possibly because we don't teach kids enough world history. Basically, in the late 1830s, a failed Chinese scholar named Hong Xiuquan had a vision during a high fever that almost cost him his life that he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ and was sent by God on a mission to rid China of devils. In other words, the teachings of Confucius and the Manchus, the ethnic group that ruled the Qing dynasty. Now, the Qing rulers were essentially considered foreign invaders by many ethnic Han Chinese, so amazingly, Hong's Taiping Rebellion grew to over 1 million strong. They were even able to conquer Nanjing, a major city in southern China, and held it for about a decade. Ultimately, because of internal conflicts and mismanagement within the Taiping forces, combined with European forces deciding to favor the Qing dynasty, the movement lost momentum, and after the death of Hong Xiuquan, the Taiping forces were eradicated. However, the fact that a guy calling himself the younger brother of Jesus managed to dominate Qing forces, it kind of dealt a huge blow to the prestige and reputation of the dynasty. I mean, what would you think if, say, someone calling himself Jesus' younger brother captured New York City and held it for 10 years, and the United States military couldn't do anything about it? RG7621 wrote, "Chris, can you speak Chinese?" I assume by Chinese you mean Mandarin. I can get by. Fluency is the goal I'm working towards, and I'll anticipate the next question. Yes, I'm studying traditional Chinese characters. Eduardo wrote, "How much money do you believe the 50-cent Army profited from your show alone?" I like to think of myself as a job creator. In fact, it's on my business card. Emma wrote, "What are your favorite resources on Chinese history?" Personally, I'd say a good starting point is anything written by Jonathan Spence. He has a way of really capturing the feeling and emotion in history. He wrote a great one about the Taiping Rebellion called God's Chinese Son, and the Search for Modern China does a fantastic job covering the past 400 years of Chinese history. My personal favorite is Emperor of China, Self-Portrait of Kangxi. If you want to know more about modern China and the Chinese Communist Party, I'd recommend the 9 commentaries on the Chinese Communist Party. It was written by an anonymous Chinese author, so the tone might be a bit odd translated into English, but it's a well-researched book that really summarizes the CCP in a way no one else really has successfully been able to do. Frugal Traveler writes, "If a Christian were to travel to China for work or study, would they be able to attend church there? What if they were Roman Catholic?" Here's the thing they try to cover up. There's no freedom of religion in China. Your only option is to worship in state-sanctioned churches where the clergy are approved by the officially atheist Communist Party. In particular, the Vatican has often been in conflicts with the party over who has the right to ordain clergy in China. The Vatican says that's a matter for the church to decide. The party says that's the job of government officials. Those who choose not to partake in the state-approved churches are known as house Christians, and they're subject to harassment and intimidation, torture, and in some cases have had their organs harvested in state-run hospitals. That said, if you are a non-Chinese Christian, you probably don't have to worry about being harassed or tortured, but you would also most likely have to worship in a state-run church. JWF6 asked, I'm curious, have your videos gotten you barred from entering China? Sadly, I don't think I'll be going to China for the foreseeable future. It's too bad. I was always very interested in China, but before I got a chance to visit, I started making this show and now probably can't go until the Communist Party falls. Okay, I think I'll stop there for now. If your question wasn't answered, don't fret. Leave your questions down in the comments section and maybe I'll choose them for the next Q&A episode, which I'll release at the end of the month. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to everyone who submitted questions the first time around. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.